This thing's got 2 frickin' cores. Back in 2015, I set out and built my very first computer. Before that, I was living exclusively on laptops and stuff, and I had no idea what I was doing, so I chose a dual-core Pentium and an old graphics card that my aunt gave me. So, let's go ahead and see how relevant those are in 2023. Taking a look at our system now, we have a Pentium G2030 running at 3 GHz. It's a dual-core, dual-thread processor, and it's not particularly good, even for when I first built the system. And as far as our graphics card goes, we have the Geforce 8600 GT, which also, like the G2030, was not very good by the time I built the system. It is still somewhat capable, but by the time I built this thing in, I think around 2015 or so, it was already outdated. So, yeah, let's just move on to WGL gears. So I have MSI Afterburner already installed here, but we can already see that, let's just get rid of the overlay real quick here. Yeah, it runs fine. It's just that for whatever reason, NVIDIA cards just do not exceed the VSync frame rate when running GLX gears. I don't know why, it's just an NVIDIA thing. It doesn't happen on any other card that I've tried. So, with that out of the way, we're done with specs, and let's move on to some actual games. So, this time around, I do actually have Steam installed, so let's go ahead and start Tomb Raider. And you can already see right here, there is some graphical glitching even on the menu screen. Oh, that's bad. That was really bad there. And even looking past the menu screen artifacting, yeah, frame rate, not good. Even though we do have an average of 30 FPS, supposedly here, our actual FPS is only around 10, and our minimum, well, not minimums, 1% and 0.1% lows are both a solid 0. So let's just go ahead and start a benchmark run. Starting with Tomb Raider, we can immediately see that performance is far from good. Our average FPS fluctuates in the mid to high teens, but our 1% and 0.1% lows are both way down in the single digits. It is not in any way playable, in my opinion, for something that's running at 1080p normal settings. Moving on now to Classicube, we can see that we easily blow past 100 FPS on average, and our 1% and 0.1% FPS are both pretty decent as well, being 26 and 17 FPS respectively. But yeah, there's really not much to say about the performance here. This is Direct 3D mode, by the way, but yeah, Classicube runs perfectly fine, which is not all that surprising at all. Similarly, in OpenGL mode, we get equally high frame rates, though I'm not quite sure what's going on with the 0.1 FPS there, which is kind of stuck at 8, but our 1% lows are very high this time compared to even the Direct 3D mode, being a solid 60 plus FPS. I'd also like to take the time to mention that Classicube seems to be like the perfect use case for this pairing of CPU and GPU, because as you can see up there in the left hand corner, our CPU and GPU are both pegged at right around 90 to 100% at all times, which means that both are being utilized more or less equally to each other. And yeah, you can see me pointing with the mouse there for a moment. Heaven Benchmark, on the other hand, is more or less an exercise in futility. We can already see that every figure in our frame rates are single digits, and our 1% and 0.1% lows are both pegged at a solid 0 FPS. With usage pegged at 100% and all of its VRAM currently in use, it's pretty clear that the GPU just cannot take
Unigine heaven at all in any way. So I just decided to go ahead and end the benchmark early because there's not much of a point in letting it run all the way through. Minecraft 1.19.4 on the other hand makes it very, very clear that this CPU is just not cut out for the job anymore. Flying around, we can already see that the percentage usage of the CPU is pegged at 100% and is not budging from that at all, while the GPU on the other hand is only about half utilized at best. And even standing and like looking at the ground here, our frame rate is still, I guess, okay, though our 1% and 0.1% lows make it very obvious, even outside of the context of the video itself, just how stuttery the gameplay actually is. So if you want to, I guess, use an 8600 GT for whatever reason with modern Minecraft, at least get a quad-core CPU to use it with instead, because, oh boy, dual cores just don't have a place anymore in 2023. And yeah, I turned up the brightness there just for visibility's sake. But I will also mention that once the world is loaded in a little bit more, the frame rate does stabilize a tiny bit. Though you can see here, at this point the CPU's just kind of given up on trying to load anything else in, so the frame rate is actually somewhat stable as far as frame rates go, I guess. And I wouldn't necessarily say that's playable, but it's at least far better than it was before. The frame times are still not particularly good, especially when I fly into areas where chunks are being loaded in, but it is better than it was before. And I will also say that the 1% and 0.1% lows are once again not working for some reason, so who knows what's going on there. And next up, we've got Cinebench R20, just to further hammer home the point that the CPU is absolutely terrible and should not be used in 2023. You can already see that I did score the CPU in a benchmark in a previous run that is from a previous scrapped recording. But I'll just go ahead and speed this up for you to see just how long this takes. And there you have it, a score of 430, which is actually 5 less than the first time around. So yeah, it lasted for so long that the screensaver actually came on while it was running and I had to jiggle the mouse, so yeah. Last but not least, we've got a little bit of YouTube playback. I do have the H.264 plugin enabled, well, will enable here, but even after refreshing the page, it doesn't seem to work anymore, because, as you'll see in a moment, YouTube is still using the VP9 codec. Either way, this is pretty much the one area where the Pentium G2030 is still able to shine, and you'll see that in that it's able to, you know, play 1080p 30 video on YouTube without any frame drops. So you can see right there, 0 frames dropped and it's just playing fine. So I guess basic office usage is more or less the one place where this hardware setup is still relevant, and even then, I don't know if anyone would want to use it. Anyway, thanks for watching and roll the outro. Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Why not check out that subscribe button while I try and get my hand tracking to work for once, or better yet, why not join as a channel patron? $1 a month gets you a shout out and access to the secret crab loft in my Discord, if I can point below. Okay, I guess I'm not gonna point. Linked in the description, and $5 a month gets you bonus content on top of that, including unedited video footage and early access to some of the other stuff that I make. Sometimes I question my life choices.